A while, haven't we? It's been the best part of 3 months since the 2025 season got underway at Portimao in Portugal at the end of March. And here we are, finding ourselves at Misano World Circuit Marco Simoncelli on the beautiful Adriatic coast of Italy for round 2 of 6 this season. A superb start on the Algarve back in March when we had the 2 individual races, one on Saturday and one on Sunday, decided one of them by 1/10 of a second and the other by less than 1/10 of a second, with Chris Clark, the American, leading the series, heading here to Misano this weekend. As you can see for yourself, we've been looking through the heat haze on many an occasion because the track temperature is 36 degrees Celsius, air temperature 27 and humidity 57%, despite it only being 11 minutes past 10 in the morning here as we get ready for our first of 2 10-lap races this weekend. Greg Haynes with you. Welcome from me, welcome from all of us here at Yamaha. We are delighted to be back, and so are the riders, although these are very, very testing conditions indeed as the field makes its way around towards what we call the dummy grid on the sighting lap. This is the reconnaissance tour around towards the grid slots, and then there'll be one more warm-up lap, and then of course we will be underway. I remind you, a 10-lap race distance. The 2/3 cutoff is the end of lap 6. Just bear that in mind in case the race is stopped for any reason. Once we get past the end of lap 6, it would not be restarted and full championship points will be given out. So these are the grid positions then for round 2 of 6, and it's Angelo Motola, the 15-year-old from Capua down in the south of Italy, one of 6 Italian riders on the grid this weekend, and he's just 2 days away from his 16th birthday on Monday. Alongside him, Alex Di Persio, so that's 2 Italians on the front row, and then Arai Agaska, number 38, the Indonesian newcomer this year, who was so exciting to watch back at Portimao. Mario Salles has a penalty. He's at the back of the grid, so watch out for the Brazilian fighting through. Here he is then, number 77. It is Angelo Motola on the AG Motorsport Italia Yamaha R3. If you are with us for the first time here on the Yamaha Racing YouTube page or on Discovery Plus, welcome along. All of the riders on the same motorcycle, which makes this extremely competitive, as we've seen so many times before. Number 69 is Alex Di Persio. He celebrated his 18th birthday at the start of the season, and a surprise party was put together for him at Portimao. Agaska, 17 years old then, from Mataram in Indonesia. I know many of you are joining us here live on YouTube from Indonesia, so a special hello to you. And it seems as though Arai has gained a huge following already in his very young motorcycle racing career, looking to follow in the footsteps of Aldi Mahendra, of course, one of our BLU CRU members, who shot to fame last year when he won the Supersport 300 World Championship title, and is currently doing great things with the Evan Bros team alongside Jan and Ju in World Supersport. And they'll be racing here also at Misano later on this afternoon. This is a World Superbike weekend, so we have the Superbikes out there, World Supersport, World Supersport 300, and also, of course, the Yamaha R3 BLU CRU World Cup. After Misano, we're off to Donington. Next time out, on the weekend of the 12th and 13th of July, the Balaton Park circuit will be uncertain for everybody. The Hungarian venue, completely new this year. And then Motorland Aragon in Spain and Estoril in Portugal will bring the curtain down on the season in the middle of October. Here's a reminder then of the weather conditions, and look at that, the Rock of San Marino there in the background just above the Tiso Bridge. I can't see a single cloud in the sky here at Misano. Of course, many memories here of Sitch 58 himself, Marco Simoncelli, after whom the circuit is named. This is the Tramonto corner, the sunset corner. And since the circuit was reopened in 2007, it is clockwise in configuration. World Superbike have been racing here since 1991, but following on from the legendary street races that we used to have in this part of the world back in the 1950s and 60s. this circuit was built as a permanent venue for this part of Italy in 1969. And these corners, of course, from the Caro hairpin here, which used to be a left-hander, they used to build up through a series of left-handers down towards Tremonto. These days we're going the other way around. There's many grandstands lining this part of the circuit. A few people gesticulating at one another already on this warm-up lap. Through the left-hander now of turn 15 and into the last corner. Misano corner on Misano World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli. And remember the incredible races that we had here last year. Here's a reminder then of the championship situation. The American Chris Clark leads the Brazilian Mario Salles by 6 points. Then it's Kugawa, Tepai. He's number 26, third, 8 points behind. But as you can see, so many riders separated by less than the amount of points given for a win. So De Percio and Trujillo are also in the top 7. And they're all covered by 23 points. So any one of 7 riders could end this race as the BLU CRU World Cup Championship leader. Stand by for action then. There's the lights. When the lights go out, we are away for the 3rd race of the year, round 2 for the R3 World Cup. And Araya Gaska, the Indonesian newcomer this season, makes an excellent start. He's ahead of the pack already on the run down into the right-left combination that makes up the park chicane. A few riders being very adventurous and trying to go around the outside of turn 2, but now the track goes the other way. This is turn 3, and watch the front end of the bikes dip as they slam on the brakes and negotiate their way down into Rio. The double right-handers of 4 and 5. De Percio has just slipped back up the inside to take 3rd position with the all-white crash helmet. This is the crucial turn 6 that leads you down towards La Quercia. Somebody running off the track there in the background, but looking at there's asphalt runoff there as opposed to gravel, so they live to fight another day. This is La Quercia, an adventurous line up the inside for the number 23 of Aimon Bocanegra. He takes the lead of the race now. Racing this season under a Brazilian license. He's changed several times over the years. He has also had a Peruvian license last year, a Spanish license when we had the R3 Super Finale in Estoril at the end of last season. But Bocanegra now racing with his dual nationality under his Brazilian license. Agasca then with the advantage as we come down towards the rapid Cavoni. This is it. How many bikes do you want to have side by side at the end of the opening lap? That's Charlie Mendes, number 6 on the inside line. The rider from the Caribbean, from the Dominican Republic. He missed out at Portimao after a practice high-side crash coming out of the Portimao hairpin. He was injured and had to sit out the rest of that weekend, so it's great that Charlie's back with us here at Misano and already fighting for the win. Tepai Kugara now slotting into 2nd place. De Percio, to the delight of the Italian crowd here at Misano, one of the 6 Italian riders in the field here this afternoon, and it's a field of 20, leads but not for long, and this chopping and changing will continue, you can imagine, for the entire 10-lap race distance. What you do not want to do is run off the track and drop out of the leading group, because it can then be very difficult to catch back up again, as we've seen in the past. De Percio on the left, Kugawa on the right. De Percio retakes the lead. De Percio, who comes into this round 6th in the championship, started his season, if you remember, with a 2nd place in Portimao back in March, but then was involved in a crash in race 2. And that inconsistency, despite one podium, is what leaves him down in 6th position in the championship. Into La Quercia corner then. And we're not even at the point of the race in which people can try to size up their rivals and think, where am I stronger? Where are you weaker? One thing they will be thinking about, though, are temperatures for the tyres and for the engines. We've had a few overheating problems for bikes in other categories across the weekend so far. I remind you, the track temperature is 37 degrees Celsius here, despite the fact it's only 20 past 10 in the morning here on the Adriatic coast. Everybody trying to break the toe by moving to their right-hand side. But of course, those behind want the slipstream, so they have to go with them. You might sometimes see riders diving out of the slipstream to try and cool, if they can, in these weather conditions, their front tyres in particular. A lot of emphasis on the front tyres here at Misano. Everybody, incidentally, on the Italian Pirelli brand. MotoGP, of course, will be switching to Pirelli for 2027. World Superbike have had Pirelli as the sole tyre supplier since 2004. Number 44 there is Salvatore Germano, the 18-year-old from Torre del Greco here in Italy. And we're going to have 4 abreast down into turn 1 at the start of the 3rd lap. Great racing, and I have to say the respect everybody's showing one another is tremendous once again here in the R3 World Cup. I know there's going to be a gathering down in what's known as the BLU CRU Village later on this afternoon at 4 o'clock, in which all of the representatives from Yamaha and of course the riders will be gathering themselves. Agaska back up the inside. If he takes a victory here this weekend, it's going to be absolutely superb, because as I said before the start, he's already collected a huge following in his native Indonesia, and we know that the motorcycle market for Yamaha and many other manufacturers for that matter is huge in Asia and in Indonesia in particular. And we have indeed seen Superbike races and of course MotoGP races at Lombok, the Mandalika circuit, in recent years. Famously, of course, Toprak Razgatlioglu wrapped up the 2021 World Superbike title for Yamaha in Indonesia. And how fantastic is the news that Toprak's back in the Yamaha family as he joins the Pramac team for his MotoGP debut next year. That's the big talking point here in the paddock at Misano. Some of the riders here in the second group are looking to try and close in. That's Troy Slavica, number 21, the 16-year-old Czech rider. And they've got a 1 second gap to the number 81 of Dani Krabaka, who is in 15th place, just inside the points. He's the 17-year-old from Austria. Chris Clark, championship leader, let's not forget him. He is down in 14th position at the moment, so keep an eye out for number 5, the American. Doesn't want to be down there, he wants to be gathering as many points as he possibly can. Kugawa goes up the inside. Tepai Kugawa made his debut in the championship back at round 1, finished on the podium in one of those races, yet to win a race. Can he do so on only his 3rd start here at Misano this afternoon? There's been a little bit of contact and touching between some of the bikes. I notice a few of them have their brake lever protectors pushed up on the right handlebar. So often the case in close combat like this. Angelo Motta then with a 1:55.1. The pole time yesterday, if you're wondering, was a 1:54 flat. But of course, we're now in race conditions as opposed to qualifying conditions. De Persio then, number 69. There he is, he's in the tow behind Kugawa. Going to try and pull to the right-hand side, but you often get dive bomb moves here at the Oak Tree corner, La Quercia, and that's exactly what's happening with Mottala, who started on pole, back up into the lead. And running very wide indeed is Salvatore Germano. Manages to rejoin without making contact with anybody. The 18-year-old, he's on the inside line now into Tremonto. And look at Agaska. He lets the brake off and throws his R3 into Tremonto corner. Tremendous corner speed there from the Indonesian in the first part of that corner. Here's Mario Salles with the yellow flash on the top of the crash helmet. The 17-year-old from Almirante Tamadare in Brazil. He is currently in 10th position. That's Pastore right with him. Pastore, who came up into the World Cup this year by virtue of the fact he won the super finale last year in Estoril, and it gave him a free pass to the R3 World Cup. There's almost contact in the middle there. Agaska on the inside line, number 38. Okanuki there doing a superb job to get through ahead of those guys. Number 31, he'll be celebrating his 18th birthday on Friday next week, and he wants at least one podium from Misano here to celebrate his birthday. Quick catch up on Chris Clark, the championship leader. He's not going to be the championship leader for much longer if it stays like this. He's currently down in 14th position, and only 2 points are available for 14th place. There's Okanuki. Started 5th on the grid. Remember, they line up 3 by 3. De Persio back at the inside of Kugawa. Now, I often say this in our commentary here on the R3 World Cup, but let's see what happens over the next few laps. does the leader out of the last corner actually lead over the line? Because that's going to be the crucial element when we get to the last lap. Nobody doing anything too silly down through La Quercia. Gasca has done it again. The confidence he's showing through Tramonto corner is well nigh incredible, and this time he leads the pack coming out of there. Almost tyre-to-tyre contact. That was a beautiful example of how to use the slipstream from De Percio. Okanuki now dives up the inside. Everybody on equal machinery here. They have an increased number of mechanics and technicians available as well, working in the R3 World Cup finish this year. A Gasca on the brakes. It's incredible what he's managing to do every time we get to a braking zone. He can take 2 or 3 riders in one fell sweep, and I'm sure those of you watching with us back in Indonesia will be loving this. You can leave live comments on the Yamaha Racing YouTube page as these races go out live. We're already into the second half of the race. 5 laps down, 5 to go. This is lap 6. There is Mario Sales. He's starting to make some headway now on a 1:54.3. That's 7/10 of a second quicker than the previous fastest lap in this race, and only 3/10 of a second off Mottola's pole from yesterday. And Sales, one of the more experienced riders in this category, starting his 13th race today, because this is his second full season. There he is, a 17-year-old from Brazil. Part of the Yamaha AD78 FIM Latino America tier of the BLU CRU, which has many tiers all around the world. And look at this position progression he's made. I said to watch out for him, didn't I? Starting from 20th place on the grid, he's gone from 15th to 14th to 12th to 9th and now to 5th. Can you imagine Sales comes through, having already taken his maiden victory, Super Mario, back in Portugal at the start of the season? If he wins today from 20th, it would be incredible. Side by side at the front, and this is perfect news for Sales. Sales has a good chance of leading the championship at the end of the race, but so much can change, and I'm sure probably will. Look how they're almost making contact. There goes the 55 of Pastore up into the lead. You can spot him with the all-white crash helmet design. I was chatting with Pastore earlier on this morning, and he was very honest, actually. He said if he made a few mistakes in qualifying here, exactly as he did at Portimao at round 1, couldn't get a clean lap in, so it left him quite some way down the grid in only 11th position. And a lovely gesture as well for Pastore, because he's looking to get a good result here today to dedicate the finish and the points and the achievement to a friend of his who is recovering from a bad motorcycle accident. What a lovely gesture from Pastore. Remember what Christian Pucci did here last year with an incredible move at the last corner. Are we going to see another one of those here today? Talking of Pastore then, here he is, 55. He now sets the fastest lap of the race. That's only 2/10 of a second off the pole position time. 11 riders are still in this leading group. Kugawa from Japan, Pastore from Italy on the right. Gasca just behind them is from Indonesia. Then it's Okanuki from Japan, the Brazilian Mario Sales with the yellow fash on the middle of the helmet. 44 diving up the inside. It's Salvatore Germano. Charlie Mendes is in there as well. That's the 44 of Germano running wide there, coming through La Quercia. Also in this leading group, we've got De Percio, who of course has led the race at various times. I'm on Boccanegra. Gene Turner's in there, the half Japanese, half Kiwi New Zealand rider. Chris Clark, championship leader, is 12th. David Novak is in 13th position. And he's shooting up the order from 19th on the grid is David Novak, number 46, so he's gone well. And Danny Krabacher is at the back of this leading group, but they're being caught by those behind. Krabacher telling me yesterday that he's feeling a lot more comfortable on the bike now, but Superpole was very, very difficult here because of the tough, humid, sticky, close heats that we have in terms of the weather conditions. You can imagine what it's like for the riders. with their leathers, their helmets, their gloves and their boots on. Kugawa retakes the lead from Pastore. Counting down the laps. 3 to go now. If it stayed like this, and that's a very big statement to make, I know, Kugawa would lead the championship 10 points ahead of Mario Sales, and Chris Clark would fall from the lead down to 3rd. But a lot can happen in 3 laps, a lot can happen in 1 lap, as we've seen so many times before here in the R3 World Cup. I was chatting with Chris Clark last night, incidentally, about the possible worries of engines overheating, and he said, no, it's not really a worry for us here in the R3 World Cup, but it's certainly a worry that the tyres could overheat. Luckily, the riders here are competing at the beginning of the race day, because some of the weekends we go to, the R3 World Cup is at the end of the programme, so at least for their sake, the track temperature is lower now than it will be later on this afternoon, when it will be getting up towards 50 degrees Celsius. It's currently 38 degrees Celsius. And poor old Chris Clark, incidentally, he's not only going to fall down to 3rd in the championship if it stays like this, but he had to miss his graduation the other day, having graduated over in the States from high school. And the reason? Well, it was a good reason. He was flying across to Europe to take part here in round 2 at Misano. So congratulations, Chris, on the graduation. There's an investigation, I can tell you, underway now in the steward's office, headed up by the safety officer, who is also the chief steward, Antonio Lima. And it's Salvatore Germano who's under investigation. And that's for an incident at turn 16. So I don't know whether he's made contact with somebody. Turn 16 is the last corner. It may well be exceeding track limits. And that was him running wide again there. One of 2 riders who's just run wide coming out of Caro and right out onto the green again. And it is Germano again. Now, if he keeps doing that, he will be given a long lap penalty, because you can have an advantage by touching the green paint coming out of the last corner, but also a wider sweeping line if you go across the green on the entry to the last corner. And what a move that is! Sensational stuff there from Imon Boccanegra. He's not backwards in coming forwards. We've seen this before in the Super Finale, and also last year when he started to make his debut with wildcards. And this is where the tension really starts building, because we're into the penultimate lap here now. It's a Gasca with the advantage. Are we going to have 3 different winners from 3 races at the start of the season? We've had a Chris Clark win for the United States. We've had a Mario Sales win for Brazil. Are we going to get a different one from a different country maybe here today? Sales, who took pole position back at Portimao. And Boccanegra goes through and takes the lead. Sensational stuff from Imon Boccanegra, the Barcelona-based rider who started 8th on the grid, but Agasca's done what he always does at Tramonto Corner. Agasca number 38 towards us. The rest ducking in for a slipstream. Boccanegra is now down to 2nd place. 14 riders then in the leading group. I don't think Indy Sunsolar, Troy Savitsa, and Marco Trujillo, who are behind them in the background, are going to be able to catch them. They're 15th, 16th and 17th. So it looks as though, unless something really dramatic happens, it's only one of 14 who could still win this race, as we now come around towards the 10th and final lap here. There'll be just over 4 kilometres, 2.5 miles to go at Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli, and running wide this time is the 77 of Angelo Motola, who started on his first pole position here today. Here we go then. The 10th and final lap commences now here at Misano. It's race 1 of round 2 in the 2025 Yamaha R3 BLU CRU World Cup. And we've got an Italian rider leading, one of 6 in the field. The 18-year-old from Chieti, Alex De Percio. He's going to keep the lead down into Rio. 23 in 2nd place is Imon Boccanegra, and Pastore trying to bully his way up the inside, and he does. Emanuele Pastore, sublime stuff from the 17-year-old there from Segrate, takes the lead. He was 3rd going into Rio, and he was leading coming out of that complex down the back straight towards La Quercia then for the final time. It's anyone's guess. Any one of 14 riders here in contention, down to David Novak. Number 46, there's the 23. Boccanegra's done what he did last time round. Let's check to see that nobody runs wide, and they haven't. That's good news. And we need to keep a very close eye on that green paint, don't we, on the outside of the entry and the exit of the last corner. Look at number 6, Charlie Mendes. Oh, there's going to be contact there. There is. Charlie Mendes, the rider from the Dominican Republic in the Caribbean, dived at the inside there of Tramonto corner. I do not know how everybody kept going there without at least one rider going down. They did an amazing job. That would have pushed up a few of the front brake lever protectors yet again. Of that there is no doubt. Up the inside goes the number 48. Did he touch the green paint there though? We'll have to keep an eye on that afterwards. That was Arai Agaska again, the rider from Indonesia. And running wide and having a huge moment again is Charlie Mendes on the outside. He touched the green paint as well, and he's been completely hung out to dry. And chaos at the back there. 4 riders, I believe, are all down. Are they going to have to stop the race? Will there be a red flag first or a checkered flag first? Alex Di Persio then has the advantage. And it's going to be his first victory of the season. An Italian here in Italy. 3 different winners from 3 different countries. At the start of 2025, Alex Di Persio wins race 1 here at Misano. Agaska is second, Boccanegra is third, Kugawa, Pastore, Sales, Clark, Novak completing the top 8. Let's hope everybody involved in that collision is okay. 4 of them have gone down. Gene Turner is one of them. Charlie Mendes, who was having all sorts of trouble on that last lap. Okanuki is out, and so is Angelo Motola, the rider who so brilliantly qualified on pole position here at Misano yesterday. What a shame for him. I hope everybody's all right. There's Di Persio, though, for the Arco team. They're running a squad in World Supersport 300 as well, and Alex Di Persio, he's waited a long time for this second race win. The results are under review, I'm not surprised to see, by the stewards because of those green paint moments, I'm sure, on the last lap there. The red flag now has come out as well. It's very, very seldom that you see the red flag come out after a checkered flag. So everybody now needs to just coast round very, very carefully indeed. Those who did not take the checkered flag because of the red flag will be classified at the last checkpoint, sector 3. But I'm just looking at the timing screen and see that everybody did get through. So everybody did manage to take the checkered flag before the race was stopped there. Well, goodness me, what a dramatic finale. Di Persio wins from Agaska. Here's Imon Boccanegra. He is on the podium then for the first time this season, number 23, and the second in his very young motorcycle racing career so far here in the BLU CRU World Cup. Di Persio's racecraft, I have to say, he's been very, very sensible, hasn't he, across the 10 laps there. Never really allowed himself to be dropped back towards the back of that 14-rider leading group. Always trouble if that happens. Agaska, well, he's certainly a contender for victory tomorrow, isn't he? 3 different winners from 3 different races. Will Agaska make it 4-0 winner tomorrow? He's certainly one of the favourites. His moves here into Tramonto corner in particular, the way he was letting off the brake and just throwing the bike in was incredible. It all really started to kick off here, didn't it? Halfway around that last lap when Charlie Mendes made that really aggressive move on the inside line. And then there was more contact over at the Caro hairpin, and it just took the slightest of touches between 2 of the riders who went down, and no one else had anywhere to go, did they? 4 riders sadly caught up in that late race collision. The results are still under review here. Now, I can't yet tell you who precisely is under review. As soon as anything comes up on the timing screen, I will let you know. And may I just take the opportunity also to remind you that race 2 will be taking place here on Sunday, but 10 minutes earlier than this one. So today's race started at 10:15 local time. Tomorrow's 10:05 here in Italy. Just coming up towards 11 o'clock here now as the track temperature increases yet again to 38 degrees Celsius. Everybody in then. Now they're going to be holding them while the stewards go through the situation up in their office upstairs here. And what they're doing is just checking that anybody who was involved in a collision doesn't need to be given a penalty, and also if anyone's touched that green paint on the final lap, it is an automatic demotion of a position. For those of you asking about the riders, the 4 of them involved in that collision there at the end of the race, I'm afraid I have no news at the moment, so I won't even begin to speculate. I have no idea, so I will let you know if anything comes through while we are on the air. If not, check online, of course, on the Yamaha Racing social media channels, and we will be back here on YouTube and Discovery Plus on Sunday with news by then, I am sure. This could take some time here to sort out the order. Provisionally at the moment, it's De Percio, P1, Agasca second, Boccanegra third, Kugawa fourth from Pastore, Sales and Chris Clark. Chris Clark somehow must have managed to get through the chaos in the background that we saw, and he'll be very grateful for 9 points. Because at one point in that race, he was only on for 2 or 3 points for 13th or 14th position. He won't be grateful for the reason of that, of course, but nonetheless grateful for the championship points. David Novak, 8th place for David, the Polish rider. Stunning performance there from 19th on the grid. Well done, David. Chris Clark provisionally, and I say provisionally because we don't yet know the final results, leads the championship. It is so close, though. It's the closest I can ever remember seeing between the top 5. 1 point ahead of Agasca, 4 ahead of Kugawa, 5 ahead of De Percio and Sales, who are tied, 13 ahead of Boccanegra. So any one of those 6 riders could lead the championship at the end of the weekend. The podium has now been confirmed. The podium has been confirmed. The stewards have gone through the angles they have available to them in their office. De Percio wins for the first time this season. Agasca is second, Boccanegra is third. Kugawa, Pastore, Sales, Clark and Novak completing the leading group. Sunsalar was 9th from Trioyo. Then it was Slavica, Krabaka, Germano. Palmolski was 14th, and the number 72 of Rigaro Berti, who's a wild card here, an 18-year-old Italian, and he scores a point on his debut. Well done to him. Everybody into Parc Ferme. Our man Ollie Rushby will be down there with the microphone to have a chat in a moment with Alex De Percio, who turned 18 at Portimao at the start of the season. The man from Chieti here in Italy, and it is one of those 6 Italians then that has come out on top. Our first Italian win of 2025.
Podium of the weekend.
Here's the final results, and here are the gaps. De Percio wins by half a second, and that's huge in terms of the R3 World Cup. Agasca up on the podium from Boccanegra. What a dramatic race for him.
By 1 point.
Chris Clark 1.8 seconds behind in terms of race finishes there. And well done again to Berti there. Number 72 as a wild card, scoring on his debut. Very unfortunate that we had that collision there on the final lap. Those riders who went down in that multiple collision were the only 4 riders who actually retired from the race. It had been very, very clean up until that point. It was that unfortunate last corner squeeze, wasn't it, coming through the Caro hairpin. I'm sure Alex De Percio is going to be very, very relieved as well as delighted as he wins for the first time this year, and at home as well here at Misano World Circuit, which I'm sure will make it a lot sweeter. Agasca, he is a man we need to keep a very, very close eye on from Mataram in Indonesia, the 17-year-old, and he is going places. I think he's already becoming good mates, actually, with Aldi Mahendra, his fellow countryman, who is the reigning 300 champion. But here's De Percio.
Alessandro De Percio, victory at home in Italy. How does that feel?
What a race is an incredible emotion. I'm very proud of the team for the work in these days. Now and tomorrow, I have to say thanks to all my sponsors, all my family that is here, and remember to drink the water of Pietrarossa because it's the water of the champions, better than the champions. And see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Alex, and thanks to Ollie Rushby as well. The water of life there as he comes up to the last corner on that last lap. And because of the incident, you can see one rider crawling in the background with a damaged bike, forward down on the ground at that point. But that, by R3 World Cup standards, is a very large win indeed. Half a second ahead as Di Persio comes through for his first win of 2025.
Boris, while we have a little bit of time, let's explain to the fans that are maybe new to the championship. All of our podiums take place here on the stage, and today at 5 o'clock, every single rider will be here. It's a big show, even bigger than before.
Tutte le premiazioni, come di consueto, si terranno ovviamente sul main stage del Paddock Show. Ci sarà Michael che le condurrà per i protagonisti.
You see the knee slider there closest to us on the left-hand side for Di Persio, used as a reference so they know where they are on the track when they've got lean angle on. They switch those round, of course, each time they come back into the pit lane. Up onto the podium they will come now then. The paddock show format here at World SBK, which allows all of the fans to get right up close to the podium and then grab some selfies and autographs with the riders as they make their way back towards the R3 village afterwards. So Bocanegra, as I said, he's raced under a Peruvian flag because of his license last year, then a Spanish flag in the super finale at the end of last year, and now a Brazilian flag for 2025. Quite hard to keep up with that, isn't it? Agasca from Indonesia second. So 16 points for Bocanegra, 20 for Agasca, and the top 25 for Alex Di Persio. I remind you, tomorrow's race starts 10 minutes earlier than today's at 10:05 local time here on the Adriatic coast of Italy. We'll be back for that one once again on the Yamaha Racing YouTube page and on Discovery Plus.
And now Karen will present the second place trophy to our second classified rider, Agasca.
Already gathering Agasca a very large social media following indeed. This will be a big cheer, I'm sure, though, for Alex Di Persio. The 18-year-old wins. 6 Italian riders on the grid and one of them on the top of the podium.
Ladies and gentlemen, please, your respect.
And so, to the delight of the crowd, the Italian national anthem here in Italy, and we will be back for our live coverage here for race 2 on Sunday.
Alessandro on the top step. We'll get the official photograph of race 1 and then I'll come out and have a chat to them. Ladies and gentlemen, ragazzi, make some noise for our top 3. Alessandro Di Persio, Agasca, and Ayman Bocanegra.
And thank you for all of you.
Thank you very much indeed. Grazie. We'll see you tomorrow. Ayman gets his first podium of the season.